Hey guys, I'm Becky from Book Bite Reviews, and welcome to my October wrap-up. The month of October was a little bit unusual for me for my recent trend of how many books I've been reading. I started 15 books but only finished 11, which has been one of the lowest months in a while. I've been reading more and more as the months have gone on this year, but there was one week where I was very sick and did not read a single page. However, even though I only finished 11 books, my page count stayed pretty high. I still read over 4,000 pages, which is kind of insane, especially since I had that week off. So I can only imagine what I would have gotten done if I had that week, because it probably would have added at least 3 to 4 more books to my list. So the other really cool thing is that I only read 4- and 5-star books. I had a really good reading month. Everything I read was really good. I didn't read anything under 4 stars, so let's just go ahead and dive into it, starting with the 4 stars and moving our way up. First up is Volume 1 of Giant Days by John Allison. This is a teen graphic novel about a group of girls who are in college, and it's basically getting to know them, seeing the different struggles that they go through, and I honestly just really enjoyed my time with this. The only reason that it didn't get 5 stars is I just felt like not a whole lot happened in this one, which is usually my problem with comics. I am excited to continue on with the series, and I would suggest this one. I really liked the art style, and I love that it was in full color, but like I said, just not a whole lot happens, so I just didn't feel that urge to give it the 5 stars, even though I really enjoyed my time. Next is The Guest House Witch by Desy Smith. This was a book that I accepted for review. It is a short story, and it is an adult paranormal. In this short story, we meet our main character, who is a witch. She gets sent to the paranormal realm by her grandmother because her aunt and her mother have been kidnapped. She ends up taking refuge in the guest house of a werewolf, and we find out that they have an attraction to one another. I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to continue on. This book is only, I think, like 54 pages, so it's very short. But in those 54 pages, we really create a connection with our characters that is very unique for a short story. I really wanted to know more. The plot line of trying to find her family does make some traction in this book, but the plotline of the romance goes nowhere, which is why it left me feeling very unfulfilled and why it gets 4 stars. But like I said, I am very excited to continue on. I have already purchased the next book, so I'm very excited about that. It is also longer. I think it's 80-some pages, so I cannot wait to pick that one up. Next up is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. I was very excited to pick this book up, and although I really enjoyed it and it was really good, it just wasn't exactly what I was expecting. So I feel like just because it let me down, it ended up getting a 4 stars. I felt very solid about that 4 stars. I didn't feel like it needed to move anywhere or there was any bias towards it because of my expectations. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was. What happens in this book isn't exactly what I thought was going to happen. And it is very unique. It's also very dark. I will warn you about that. I did have some problems with the darkness that we encounter. I wasn't expecting it, so it did come out of nowhere. There are a couple skies who do mass gleanings, and I just wasn't really about it. It kind of upset me, and I just didn't understand why they would do that. Our main characters also are against it, so I felt okay enough to go on and finish the book, even though I was like very distraught about it. But I enjoyed my time. It is interesting. I think I probably will continue on with the series. I don't know when. This is definitely a series that's going to go on the back burner, but it was interesting to read, and I'm glad that I finally read it because this book has gotten a lot of hype. Next is The Hunt by Alainna MacPherson. This was another book that I accepted for review. This book features a deaf girl who has found out that she has paranormal abilities. I found this book to be very unique and very intriguing. I really love that our main character is deaf. I think it was very unique, and I really like the way that it was done. This book also features multiple point of views, so we not only have our main character's point of view, but we have, I think, like 4 or 5 other people's points of view going on as well, which really made the story feel very well-rounded, and anything that we missed because she can't hear, we found out from the other characters. So I just felt like it was a very unique experience. It was very special. I really enjoyed my time, and I I just can't wait to continue on with the series. Even though I only gave it 4 stars, I'm very excited to find out what is going to happen next. The reason I gave it 4 stars is I just felt like this book was really a setup book for a series, which isn't one of my favorite books. I felt like not a whole lot happens. There's a whole lot of information that we don't get. And yeah, it just really ticked me off because they really kept the main character in the dark for majority of the book. Honestly, even at the end, like, we were still in the dark about other things. As the reader, since we have multiple point of views, we're finding out about other things. So there's some things that she's kept in the dark about that we're not, but there were a lot that everybody was kept in the dark about, and I just didn't really enjoy that. So I did not get a star for that, but I am excited to continue on. I think it's definitely a breath of fresh air, and I would highly, highly suggest it if you like YA paranormal. Next is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. This is a book that has been highly, highly recommended to me by one of my book club members, Anne. She has talked nonstop about this series pretty much ever since we met her, and I finally decided to go ahead and pick it up, and surprisingly, I really, really enjoyed it. If you guys have read The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, the second book, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy, a lot of people were excited about that book, and it was a big letdown. There are a lot of problems with that book. I, for one, tried to read it. It was awful. I had to DNF it. But if you liked kind of like the premise and the main plot of that book, but you would like it to actually be well written, then I would highly suggest that you pick this up, because this is pretty much like that same book, but just actually written really well. I found it very intriguing to have this main character who is trying to find Jack the Ripper. And my favorite part about this book is that at the very end, we do get an author's note where she mentions all of the historical accuracies throughout her book and where she decided to take creative freedom with it. So there are some parts where she says, one of the victims, we never found out enough about her because I believe she was a prostitute. So she decided to create her a character, even though in real life we know nothing about this person. So I found that to be really nice, and I just really enjoyed that she points out where things are different from history and where things are actually completely accurate. And I just really, really enjoyed it. I loved that there is a romance in here, and it's honestly perfect. It's the perfect little lightness that you need in this very, very dark book. And I also really love that the entire time you are kept in the dark about who Jack is, who Jack ends up being, because we get, I think, like 3 different suspects, and every time I was convinced that that was who it was. So it was very, very fun to try to figure it out. I did not figure it out. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. So I will definitely be continuing on with the series. Next is this month's book club pick, and that was There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I was very pleasantly surprised again by this book. Every year for book club, I try to pick a YA horror book, and it always ends up being very cheesy. We all don't end up liking it, and it never ends up working out. And finally, I have picked an October book that has worked out. Stephanie Perkins is very well known in the YA contemporary romance field. This is her very first scary book, and was actually very well done. It definitely could have went farther, so if you are a fan of horror, I wouldn't suggest this to you. If you are more of a chicken like myself, this is a great pick if you do want to pick up something a little bit spookier, more creepy, but you don't want to be terrified and never sleep again. This is the book for you, because it definitely is very teen horror movie, and there's plenty of times where it could have gotten a lot scarier, a lot more psychologically messed up, but it did play it a little bit safe. So I have seen some negative reviews just because people were expecting a top-notch scary book from somebody who doesn't write scary books, which is nuts. But everyone in book club really enjoyed it, including myself. I think that it was very interesting. It is still creepy enough where it definitely made me jump at times when my cat would just randomly jump in bed with me when I was reading. I wouldn't suggest reading it at night. If you are a scaredy cat, I would say try to read it during the day if you can. I unfortunately did not have time to read it during the day, and yeah, I got a little bit spooked. I mean, this is like my worst nightmare of someone being inside my house. So yeah, I was scared to say the least. Then I read First Grave on the Right by Darynda Jones. I've been wanting to read this book for a very, very long time, and I'm so happy that I finally picked it up. I really, really enjoyed this. It is an older book, so there are some problems. It's a lot a bit cheesy. I will also warn you that this is an adult book. There are some more steamier scenes, so if you're into that, this is a great pick for you. Even though it was very cheesy, which is why it got 4 stars, I really enjoyed my time and I will definitely be continuing on with the series. And the very last 4-star book is All I Never Wanted by Huang. If you enjoyed the book After by Anna Todd, but you want something that is more YA, I think this is a great pick for you. This is such a guilty pleasure read for me. I enjoyed all of the problems that this book had. I'm just really, really enjoying things like After, where it's very obvious that they are not well written or have some very big problems when it comes to how women should be treated by their partner. These books fit the bill. I will say this one was pretty well written. I didn't have a problem with the way that it was written. I just had a problem with the relationships. It's very unhealthy, like After, just a lot more tame and not as unhealthy, but it was such a guilty pleasure read. I enjoyed myself so much. It definitely has problems, don't get me wrong. This is not a healthy book, but if you are into more of those guilty pleasure reads, like After, then I think that you will also enjoy this, because I just couldn't stop reading. Again, just another train wreck that you can't look away from. I also heard that this was inspired by a K-pop drama, which I'm excited to check out because I can't wait. Reality TV kind of shows are like my ultimate guilty pleasure when it comes to television. And I really think that K-dramas are going to like fit that bill, even though they are fiction. So I'm definitely going to be checking out the K-pop drama that this book is inspired by. I cannot wait. Moving on to our 5-star books, the very first one I want to talk about is Harley, Merlin, and the Secret Coven by Belle Forrest. I am so surprised, you guys, that this is ending up in the 5-star pile. It is not at all what I was expecting. If you have been following me on my journey with this book, it was recommended to me on Amazon because I like Harry Potter. So I thought that this was going to be a very terribly written, cheesy book that was a knockoff of Harry Potter but with a female lead. I was reading it to hate it, basically, but it surprisingly shocked me and was very, very good. I cannot wait to continue on with this series. In this book, we have a 19-year-old who is our main character. She has always been able to sense people's emotions and has had a hard time with it. She grew up in the foster system, so she's always been targeted as different because of her abilities and because she is a foster child. But she is now finally on her own. She can do whatever she wants, and it turns out that she is actually a witch. So in this book, we see her struggle of trying to stay independent while also joining this coven, finding out what her abilities can do, but also figuring out the mystery as there are these demons that are basically coming after her and she's being targeted. I was completely blown away by this book. I did pick up the audiobook, which was outstanding. I highly suggest you pick up the audio from Audible. This book is only available through Amazon, but oh my god, it was so good. I really, really enjoyed my time. I couldn't stop listening. It was fantastic. I can't wait to pick up the rest of the books. I highly suggest this, and I would say that even though it seems like ridiculous and crazy when you get suggested books based on your interest in Harry Potter, I would say that if you do enjoy Harry Potter, that you will actually enjoy this book. I think that Amazon was spot on this time, and I will do better at trusting their recommendations. Next was my most anticipated book for October, and that was The Burning Shadow by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It did take me a little bit to get through this book. I think it took me like 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks. I don't know why, honestly, because it was absolutely amazing. I loved every second of it when I finally devoted the time to finishing this book. It was amazing. I also annotated it pretty heavily, if you can see, but oh my god, it was just so good. A absolutely fantastic addition to the spin-off series. We also finally get to see a lot more of the characters that we met in the Lux series. It was absolutely outstanding. There were definitely some very heartbreaking moments. I did cry over a few of the deaths that happened in this book. This is definitely a lot darker than the Lux series was, so I will prepare you for that and say that there is a few deaths in here that are very gruesome, but this book was very, very well written. It was very well executed. I cannot wait for the next book. I have no idea when the next book comes out, and it's killing me because I need it. I need to know what is going to end up happening. But I will say that what happens in the end, I did guess, because I know that nothing is ever what it seems, and I definitely guessed that very last line. I knew it. I screamed when it happened. And the very last book that I read in the month of October that got a 5-star is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. You guys, this book was so freaking good. I don't know what I was thinking when I first heard about this book. When I first heard about it, I didn't think it was going to be for me. I had no plans on reading this book, but then the reviews started coming out for it, and they were all 5-star reviews. Everybody was loving it, so I decided to go ahead and buy this book. And wow, I cannot get over how amazing it is. I'm so happy I loved it because this is one of my favorite covers for the year. I can't get over it. I'm so impressed by this cover, so I'm very, very happy that I ended up liking the book. It was outstanding. I will also warn you that for this book, it is a little bit more mature YA, borderline adult, so just know that going in, that it's not a clean YA, but it was so, so good. Oh my god. If you can't tell, I did get my nails done in inspiration of this cover for Halloween. It was great because I was a witch for Halloween, and I can't get over this book. I cannot wait for the next one. Also annotated the crap out of this book. Just chef's kiss. Outstanding. Definitely pick it up. The hype is worth it. The hype is real. It was outstanding. Those were all 11 books that I read this month. The other 4 that I started and didn't finish, don't worry. Most of them have already been finished. They will all be in my November wrap up. Don't worry about that. November is probably going to be a crazy month for reading because I have a lot of plans and a lot of books that need to get done. Be sure to leave a comment if you guys have read any of these. Let me know your thoughts, or tell me the books that you did read in the month of October because I would love to hear what you read and loved. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you loved it and you want to see more bookish content from me, please hit that subscription button. And if you want to be notified as soon as my videos go live here on YouTube, hit the notification bell. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!